Welcome to the When We Cry Umineko Book Club podcast, episode number 9. We will be covering episode 2. I am your host, Lorenzo.
Hello, this is Mushroom.
Hello, people with good taste. I'm Des. And today we'll hopefully be covering a bit more than last episode.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, we will be covering through episode 2. But first, how are you guys? What's going on? It's been a couple weeks, or actually more than a couple weeks, because we skipped last week, I guess. So it's been almost a month. What's the newest?
Who wants to go first?
I've been perpetually failing to actually start writing the multiple stories I've been wanting to write. Simply because, okay, you know what's the hardest part about trying to write a story? It's not actually trying to write a story. It's finding the fucking medium in which you want to write a story. Because you're like, okay, what's the easiest medium to write a story? The most convenient one. It's just writing, right? Just writing a novel, a book. But like, that's boring. You don't have music, you don't have visual storytelling. So like, scrap that. So what's the next step? Next step is like, I don't know, manga. But like, even though I think I'm at the level where I would be able to draw manga, that's a lot of fucking work. So like, what's the next step? Visual novels. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I could draw the sprites, but like, and I could learn how to, use visual novel making programs, but like, where am I gonna get the music? Like, everything's paid. Like, how did Ryukishi in 2004 find royalty-free music and me in 2021 in the era where information and like stuff is easiest to find? Is like these kinds of shit have never been as easy to find as they are today, and yet I cannot find royalty-free music. How does this make any sense?
It's because you're really bad at internet, Des. From what I have been talking to you, I just realized I was like, damn, Des is really bad at internet. There's royalty-free music. I'll find you royalty-free music if that's what you need.
Do you mean?
I'll find it for you. I'll send you like 20 websites and they're all royalty-free. You can get royalty-free music.
No, Mushroom. You need to understand something, which I have found multiple royalty-free music websites. The thing is, they do not let you use their music on games and stuff like that. They let you use it on like documentaries and like school projects, but not on games and stuff.
Some of them allow you to use for games. They because the whole point is you just can't profit off of it, but you could use it. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, but I want to have it on Steam, so like,
You want your game to be on Steam?
Yeah, I want people to read it.
Like, you can make it for free on Steam.
That's stupid. Too. Fucking don't put your game on Steam. No, I was gonna say put your game free on itch.io. Like, why would you put it on Steam? Like, don't support Steam. Go support itch.io, or just put it on GitHub. Like, that's basically how most people put on games. Like, for example,
I also want to profit.
You are not profiting on this, Des. You make 20 projects before you get to any projects you can profit on. You're not profiting on this, Des. Like, I wouldn't even read... This is a harsh thing to say, but I wouldn't even read fanfics that I like or fics that I like for money until I was really older because I don't have money. The point is like, get your work out for free first so people know what your deal is. And then maybe one day you get to profit.
Yeah, I guess
profiting is hard.
Grassroots approach. I think do they have like a Bandcamp like system where like people can pay what they want for whatever?
Itch.io, that's what I said. Umineko-related, which is, I guess, as anonymous friends with the people who made it, I guess. It's like a Umineko fan game. Really good. I don't even think that they named your own price. It was just you just downloaded it, and I mean, I would have paid them $2 or maybe $5. It was a good game. It took me like 7 hours to play. And honestly speaking, like, name your own price is a great way to like get out small games. I am all in for like supporting small game industry. But yes, but like that connects to what I was gonna talk about. What I did for my.
Oh, that's
like,
right.
What I haven't. Yeah, exactly.
That's why we couldn't record. What'd you do? What was your business? What was your whole deal?
Yes.
Why'd you hold us all up, man? Come on.
Sorry. So last week we were going to record on Sunday, and what ended up happening is that I was in a game jam and I couldn't record at all because the global game jam was happening, and the cutoff was like Sunday 4:00 in the afternoon, and at that time we were still furiously drawing sprites for everything. So yeah, we couldn't finish everything. So That's what we did.
Oh, dang. But did you end up finishing, or?
No, the problem is that we only had 4 members, and one of the members we have 2 coders and 2 artists. So the problem is that one of our coders lived in Korea, so which means that they were basically, I think, 14 hours ahead of us. So which made we only had 5 hours of viable talking time. And that's just how it ended up being. So we couldn't effectively write a lot of code, but we did a crazy amount of art for it because doing pixel art is way faster than doing, I guess, writing code.
Right.
It was a very simple project, but because we liked the project enough that we're going to revisit it every week throughout the semester to just finish it, just so we can have a finished product, because the people who I did the project with, 2 of them are game design students, so it would be a good thing on their portfolio, basically.
Oh, that's cool, yeah. That sounds fun. I mean, we got to see a sneak peek at the artwork, and it looks kind of cute from what we saw. So, looking forward to it.
Oh, well, how about you, Lorenzo?
So it's February at the time of this recording, and there's this small little hashtag that goes around in the group of people I follow, which is mainly people who play rhythm games. So somebody started a hashtag last year that was rhythm games every day in February. So,
Aww.
I mean, I haven't been able to play every day, honestly,
no.
but I'm
What
pretty
rhythm
close.
game are you playing?
Right now, it's always Sound Voltex, or I guess unnamed Sound Voltex. I can't say words. Unnamed Sound Voltex clone, which is a freeware version of an arcade game called Sound Voltex. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before, but it's basically rhythm game Bop It. You get these what's it, 6 buttons, 2 knobs, and your hands just jump all over the place to turn knobs and press buttons at the same time. It's crazy. Yes, I'll share more videos, which I've done previously before, but it's nuts. And I've been on the grind on that. And another game I've been playing was Taiko no Tetsujin. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen or heard of it. It's the
Taiko drum game?
You see this the Taiko arcade rhythm game. It has the red
Are
and
you
blue.
a rhythm game person?
Nah, not really. I guess the only rhythm game I've played is Us.
I mean, that counts
5
too,
years
I guess.
ago.
A lot of people get into rhythm games from Osu.
Osu.
I don't know.
Osu, definitely Osu.
I think it's Us.
Yeah.
It's Us.
Well, the dude who voices over the thing says "Welcome to Us," and I'm like, oh,
Really?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No way. It's funny because in my high school we used to have an anime club, and then people would go there during lunchtime or after school, and then they just play Osu tournaments the whole time there.
Nice.
But
What a dream.
I think I am a huge fan of course Hatsune Miku, Mega 39, which is the one on Switch, but it's so good. I play it so much. But I was gonna say, right now my rhythm game of choice is Bandorik, the one that's
oh, no.
Bang Dream Girl. So good.
I mean, out of context, you're wait, Bang Dream Girls? What?
Yeah, no, I think
Bang
it's
who?
I think it's called Bang Band G Dream Girl. The G is capitalized or something.
Really?
But it's so good. The reason why I have that version of the game is because people keep recommending me Project Sekai, which is the next generation of that game, which has all the Vocaloid songs, and of course I was a Vocaloid hoe when I was 11 years old. So I was
but yeah.
so I was oh, I really want to play Project Sekai, and then I realized my phone is not up to caliber for it to download it. So I was oh, well, this is what you get if you paid only $180 for a phone, I guess.
I mean, it's fine.
What? That's a lot.
Not a lot in America. Most people spend at least $500 on a phone.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Unfortunately.
What?
Yeah,
That's how you
it's
run
crazy.
all those anime gacha games. You got it.
Yeah, exactly. How could you play Fire Emblem Heroes without using a fancy $600-700 phone that you bought?
What? I play I mean, not anymore, but I used to play Fire Emblem Heroes on my phone, and it costed 180 euros.
What?
Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Euros is 10 times the amount of US dollars here, so.
No, it's not. It's essentially the same. What do you mean?
No,
Lorenzo?
I mean, it's 6 to 10, right? 6 American dollars, it's 10 euros.
I don't think there's that big
Yes,
of a
there is.
gap.
American dollars is so not worth it now.
All right. If you say so.
Yeah, they're worthless.
I mean, if you have a
Yeah.
phone like that, it probably costs like $250 at most. But I'm just saying that like American people buy really expensive phones, and it's insane. Like I know people who basically only use their phone to like text and call, and they were looking at like a $600 phone, and they were like, "But I want it." And I'm like, "No, bitch, you don't need a fucking $600 phone. With a $600 phone, you can buy like a Switch and like 20 games. Like I don't know what you're talking about."
You could buy 2 shares of GameStop. Come on.
Well, anyway, we get into Umineko.
Anyway, we should Umineko now, right?
Yeah, we should. I was just going to say, I brought up the Techo part really quick, is because there's also an option to change the sound effects. So usually it's a drum, but I changed it so that it's a fart noise. So I'm playing all these anime rhythm songs, or rhythm game songs, and all you hear is like... But I digress. I just had to put it out there. I am 24 and still enamored with fart jokes.
That's very lovely.
I guess we can. Yeah, that's my life. That's the scoop on me. But I guess we should talk about this dumbass book that we all spent hundreds of hours on.
Very.
Or visual novel, I mean. Previously, we saw all the servants plus Nanjo chased off to the kitchen as Rosa is very suspicious of all of them. She thinks that only the servants could have pulled off the previous murder with murdered Jessica and the missing cannon. So all the servants are in the kitchen. Goda's making soup for people because he's like, fuck Rosa, I'm going to cook anyways, even though she strictly said no eating of prepared foods because somebody might have poisoned it. But he's like, I do what I
they're
want.
like, okay, you don't have to eat the soup if you don't want, Master Rosa, but we the servants are going to enjoy a nice hot meal.
Right, and he's making the other servants who wash their dishes, even though he insisted that they use the dishes to eat the canned food that Rosa told everybody to eat out of, which I thought was really funny because, Goda's kind of like going against the grain here. He's cooking, he's making everybody wash dishes he insisted everybody that they use, even though they obviously could have avoided it. But I'm mumbling right now, or rambling, I guess. There's a lot more exciting things that happens because at that point they hear a bang on the rear door entrance. Yeah, they hear a bang at the back entrance door leading into the kitchen. It's in a and they open up the door, and who do they find? It's an exhausted and bloodied cannon. What? I thought you were dead, dude.
Gasp.
Yeah, there's a stab wound in his chest. He's like not looking so good. The servants rush to take care of him.
Yeah, I really like everyone's reactions. Because, Cannon falls to the floor covered in rain, mud, and blood. And then God is, losing his shit. Shannon is like, Cannon-ku. But then Genji is just like, Cannon, daijobu.
Yeah.
No,
He's like,
God, what a fucking
yeah,
role.
he's like, are you okay, Cannon?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's a freaking stab wound in his chest, and all the servants rush to take him to the servants' quarters to tend to him, and they also want to inform Rosa, but Cannon breathlessly insists on not telling her, and the servants just comply, which is, very suspicious, He's like, no, don't tell her because... And before you can hear what he says, they just rush him off to the servant room. And that...
I mean, he was dying.
He is dying, and he's also insisting that they don't tell Rosa about, his presence, which is like, oh, wait, what? So we're in the servant room, and he's still not looking so hot. Nanjo and Kumasawa are tending to him, and Nanjo says that the blood loss is so severe that's amazing how well he's doing, because he basically lost half of his blood. He's coughing out that Rosa is the one who attacked him and Jessica. And the Cannon's voice actor at this part is really good because they're trying to eke out deathbed confession. So Cannon's going like, oh, but Rosa, and he's also screaming at the same time. So it's a good balance of between clinging onto life but also screaming for your life. I don't know.
Yeah,
if that
there's a
makes
lot
sense.
of very intense gurgling
It
happening.
really is. It's visceral.
It's rarely painful. Yeah, exactly. Very painful to listen to. You're like, oh my god, this man is in deep pain, and he has a hole in his chest. It's very gruesome.
Yes, I enjoyed it. It's a very good scene. A very good performance, I'd say. After he says that Rosa's the one who did this to him and Jessica, the other servants think the ones left alone with her are in deep shit. So Shannon bolts out of the room. You don't see what she's doing, but she just immediately runs out, and the servants discuss how to defend themselves against Rosa and her gun. And then this is where shit starts getting weird because Cannon sits straight up and he's in a trance-like state. He kind of acts like he doesn't feel the gaping wound just leaking blood out of his body. And he says that Rosa admitted that she's going to kill everyone for the money, but he says it in a way that's very like dialed in. He's like, no, Rosa did it. Believe me in my gaping wounds. Rosa did it on God.
At this point, like his sprite like shows up again, and he has like red eyes, like or dark red eyes instead of his like usual blue eyes.
That's right. I wanted to bring hit home that until that point, I don't think they showed Cannon's sprite until this moment, which is also really weird because, I mean, everything you see should be taken at face value, right? Like, there was no Cannon until he popped up. And that
I think that may have just been
Canon
because like they didn't have a sprite that fit a canon that was essentially
I guess he's like on death's door, and then you just see like the normal board Cannon sprite.
Yeah.
Oh. I get it, but yeah, he like scary Cannon sprite pops up, and then he starts fingering his hole in front of everybody and freaks him out. And then Shannon returns with a spider web for whatever reason, and she attempts to smear all over his face. But before she can do that, Cannon's energy sword comes out again, like from the Jessica room battle scene, and slashes open Nanjo and Kumasawa. There's blood everywhere, sprinkler style. And then Genji pulls Shannon aside, so she also doesn't get caught in the crossfire. And then Goda just like, I mean, excuse my language, but he glomps Cannon and in order to restrain him. And Cannon says, Cannon tries to resist, and Genji fights back with a knife of all weapons, I guess, because he shoots a knife for whatever reason. Like, he's like really skilled at knife throwing, which is an interesting.
Yeah, Genji's like a ninja. He just like pulls knives out of nowhere, and you're like, where did you get that knife from? Like, what is this?
Yeah. Right? He like pins Cannon's hand, kunai knife style, like against the wall, and Shannon gets to smear the spider web all over his face. Wait, Jess, were you going to say something?
Okay, real quick. Genji did not pull the knife out of nowhere. That was the knife he had hidden in his sleeve from when Kanon showed up in the kitchen.
Yeah, he just like...
Oh, really? Genji really is prepared then. I guess.
He's like... right? He's just like, I'm going to hold on to this, which is... disconcerting, I guess, in a normal circumstance, but he's like, I'm just gonna always have a knife. But
to be fair, there is a murderer afoot.
There is a murderer afoot, you're right. But also, when there is a murderer afoot, you have to be wary of somebody who just like wants to conceal knives all the time. I'm just saying. But they managed to smear the spider web all over Cannon's face, which is like, what the hell are you doing? But he just screams a lot and then pops and turns into butterflies, and the remaining servants are just shocked, and they look like they all look like the shocked Patrick meme, from the SpongeBob movie, and there's just blood everywhere. Goda's screaming, Shannon's crying, and Genji's just like, okay. He's quite the Stonewall, I guess. So all the survivors, they rush to meet the Ushiramiyas in the parlor. They can't really explain what just happened. Like, all that crazy shit just happened before their eyes. They just say that they let someone in, which is a smart move, I guess, considering the murders afoot, who looked like Cannon, and then they killed Nanjo and Kumasawa and then disappeared because they rubbed the spider web all over his face. Which, to be honest, me too. Like, if somebody like pinned me against the wall and rubbed spiders in my face, I would also pop and disappear. But Rosa orders everybody to go to the servant room to investigate, including Maria. And then George is like, bitch, is you Sears? Because she's a 9-year-old girl and they just said there's a gruesome bloody murder and 2 corpses inside that room.
They don't even care anymore. They're just like, sure, Maria.
But he also doesn't stop to think that he's a dumbass for trying to leave a 9-year-old girl alone in a room with a murderer afoot.
It's honestly, there's like nowhere safe in this mansion. Like, are you supposed to like stick with your mom who's holding a gun and kind of losing it, or you're just supposed to like stand alone in a room in a gigantic mansion where there might be people coming to murder you, we're like
right? But it worked out for her last time, like people got killed in the same room as her, and she's like
whatever,
la 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 la,
gonna sing a song.
Right? So Yeah, so
Maybe that's the key to surviving. You just need to sing your worries away.
right, but then we see like Maria's kind of a murderino. We get to the bloody scene, and George tries to cover her eyes, but she's like, "No, I want to see everything." And then so the bodies are gone, but there's blood all over the room. And according to Genji, Shannon, and Goda, even though they locked it when they left the room, and the bodies are gone, so that immediately places even more suspicion on Canon / the other servants, because again they only have master keys and whatnot. But then they mentioned that his master key was taken by Nanjo, so it was on Nanjo's body, and Nanjo's body's gone from inside the locked room, which is like, whoa, what the fucking hell's going on? So Battler's line of thinking immediately goes towards Canon / the imposter killed Nanjo in front of everybody, while an accomplice, aka the 19th person, perhaps 19th person Beatrice, who knows, was hiding inside the room to remove the bodies after the room was locked from the outside. And we jump to meta Beatrice cackling at Battler, giving him credit for applying that sort of logic behind solving Jessica's murder. For applying the logic behind solving Jessica's murder for the servant's murder, if that makes sense. But the only person who could have known that Nanjo had the key had to be present in the room when they were investigating Jessica's body, you know? So that immediately places even more suspicion on the servants. So Battler says that he's getting DP'd by Beatrice with the front and rear attack, where the front attack is the murder must be explained with magical means or a witch, or the rear attack, which is blame one of the 18 people he's so attached to on the island. And I gotta say, at this point in the story, I was pretty attached to the characters, even though I was like, why the hell am I reading this? I'm like, I don't want to blame anybody. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Everyone's cute.
At this point, you have already spent, let's say, if you were lucky enough and spend 20 hours on each EP, you already probably tanked in like 40 hours, and you're like, I don't want them to be murderers. Like, it's kind of mean. Like, this is the true definition of trapped between a rock and a hard place, you know?
Exactly. So I'm just like, it's got to be the magic. I don't know how she's going to pull it off. I mean, it's easier to assume that it was done by magical means, but the truth is going to be...
I would say this walkthrough is the hardest in the series, at least up until this point, because when I have never felt dread from a story like I felt on this closed room. I actually felt dread from this because it just looks absolutely impossible. And like usually on a story, when you read something like this, you're like, oh, I guess it's just bad writing because the writer didn't notice this is actually fucking impossible. Or you're just like, oh, it's probably gonna be explained later on in the story. But me, when I read this, I was just in dread at how impossible this was. But I like, how can I explain this? It takes a lot of skill at writing to make your reader feel this instead of his mind just going instantly to it's probably gonna be explained.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like
making the reader's mind just be like synced up with the characters in the story, just actually feeling that this is absolutely impossible, and yet it is happening. And that's just super scary.
Right. I was like really close to thinking that, you know, it's going to be a cop-out ending at the end where it's like, oh, it was magic at the end and like, believe in magic. And that's the moral of the story. And I'm like, wait, I can't believe he's making me think like this because the way that these murders are written is very like almost impossible to solve, you know, like the high difficulty warning at the beginning of the episode wasn't kidding
extremely
around.
warranted.
You know? I totally get it.
Really pulls like 50 veils on you, I definitely will say.
I mean, as far as you know, the reader, like everything you're reading must be taken at face value. For first time readers, I mean. But anyways.
I would debate you on that.
I mean, we could talk about it now, or we could continue with the summary for now, and then we save the discussion for the spoiler section. But yeah, put a pin in that. Okay. We'll come back to that later. So Battler is just like, oh my god, this front and rear attack is really ruining my holes, I must say. But then Beatrice is like, Rosa's about to lay down something that will mess you up even more. So Cut to Rosa on Rokenjima. She shows everybody another sealed envelope that she found in the room. And the letter says that they'll be spared if they can solve the epitaph. And looking for, escaping from, or denying Beatrice is a no-go. She said that she also stole the corpses from the room and she'll return them later as saws. Sorry, I guess. And she also has the keys included with the envelope. So that just implies that the locked room that they just unlocked to get into had the master keys inside the room while somehow taking out the bodies. So Rosa's dead ass, it's got to be one of
and
servants,
the two keys specifically is two master keys, and one of the master key is the key that Nanjo found on Jessica's body, and which originally belonged to Canon, and then Kumazawa's master key, because Nanjo doesn't have a master key. There's only five master keys.
Right, which is revealed by Red Truth later on, is that we jump back to the meta battler in Beatrice. He's whining that he has to suspect the servants with the keys again. And then Bea is like, maybe the culprit's hiding in the room under the bed, you idiot. And then he asks about the possibility of using the servant room key, which is the room-specific key that's also available for all the rooms in the mansion. But Beatrice is like, all the servant room keys are in the servant room key box, which is locked, and only the door or window can be used for entry and exit, and it can't be unlocked without a servant room or a master key. And she also piles on that there are only 5 master keys available on the island, in Red Truth, so you have to believe it whether you like it or not. And then Battler does some chessboard thonking, and he proposes that there's actually a hiding place instead of a hidden passageway, because those two are technically different. And Beatrice is like, this bitch. So Battler tries to fight against Beatrice by asking for red repeats.
He's asking her to repeat essentially what he thinks is the truth. Just
Exactly. So he requests a red repeat that nobody but Battler, George, Maria, Rosa, Genji, Goda, and Shannon are in the room. All the survivors in the servant room are there because he thinks that the culprit is also hiding in. So he's so sure of himself, and Beatrice gives him the business and repeats it in red. So all those people that are in the room are definitely in the room, are the only people in the room. And then she also goes ahead and Red Truths Jessica's case with the same info that everybody that was described in the room that was alive are the only people that were in there, including Jessica's corpse. And she also does the me moment where she's like, I'll also throw this on. You are incompetent in Red Truth. And then she goes, ah, ha, ha, ha.
The best moment.
The start of a very classic meme in Umineko.
Honestly, even my friend who hasn't started episode 2 yet, he's like, am I gonna get to this part yet? And he shows me the screen cap of the you are incompetent, he 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 he. But Beatrice laughs in his face, tells him he can't deny magic, I guess. And then maybe Jessica was the culprit and who was playing dead, and Nanjo was just playing along. And then Battler just goes down this loop of just succumbing to the rear attack, I guess, and suspecting one of the 18 is just plotting something against the rest of the family. And then even more Red Truth hullabaloo goes on, where Beatrice is like, accept it in Red Truth, and I'll make you love me so much that I'll turn you into a fucking stool and use you so hard. And I'm like, why don't you marry him, huh?
Yeah, it's funny because at this point, my friend who's reading this, in the middle or in the end of EP1, I was like, hey, I'm really excited to read EP2 with you, but there's going to be a really aggressive sexual tension part that I'm not sure you want to read when I'm around, or we can read together. And he was like, is there going to be actual sex? What do you mean by aggressive sexual tension? And I was like, it's not sex, but it's pretty aggressive.
It's
BDSM. Beatrice wants to dom
exactly.
Battler
I was
hard.
When she says that I'm gonna turn you into a piece of furniture and step on you, she wasn't that wasn't an empty promise. That wasn't an empty threat. She's gonna do it. Anyway, but we should continue.
Right. Oh yeah. Don't underestimate the power of Beatrice's kinkiness. But back in the servants' room, Rosa points a gun at the servants, And there's like that cool 3D, pseudo 3D CG where she's pointing the gun and it like overlaps into the normal
Yeah, like
background.
super
You know
cool
what I'm
split
talking about?
screen. I love that.
Yes, so she's like freaking out, pointing a gun at everybody, and she knows for sure that the servants are plotting something and accusing Nanjo and Kumasawa actually being alive and hiding, and they just like somehow let like liters and liters of blood all over the room. And she's also backed up by the no corpses argument, saying that, you know, you're not innocent until you're either dead.
Yeah, it's a witch
I
trial.
guess.
It's a witch trial.
Exactly. That's what they say. Like, Shannon breaks down, she wasted 10 years here, and how can you, like, treat her like this? So it's like a witch trial for the servants, and which is, like, you know, kind of unfair, because, you know, Shannon, she's been working on here for 10 years, which is, like, when you think about it, it's like, was she, like, a 6-year-old?
Yeah, she's a 6-year-old, you know,
Yeah, she
totally
was
normal
super- Anyways.
6-year-old who works on a gigantic mansion.
Right? And then Rosa's just like, this means nothing. You guys are scum and worthless. And the narration's like, wow, you really can kill people with words or something like that. It reminds me of that meme where like the girl is screaming knives into the guy. You see those ones?
Yeah. Then there's a
and then
soldier
people like to meme on
protecting.
that. And there's also, the soldier protecting the sleeping child. But I just can't stop thinking of knife memes. Come on. Knives are the theme of episode 2. Let me just tell you. Anyways.
I guess we've got a thumbnail.
Yeah, Battler's narration wants to avoid pinning the blame on one of the 18, and he tries to resort to the 19th person Beatrice, and he's like caught in a tizzy because he's like, oh man, what do I even do at this point? I love everyone so much, and I also don't want to believe in magic. But then Genji butts in, and he agrees that they can't prove that Nanjo and Kumasawa are exactly innocent until they can find their corpses, which is like, oh bruh, man, that's crazy. And like we said, it equates the servant's innocence like a witch trial. So unless they're dead, you can't really trust them. So Genji voluntarily relinquishes his key to Rosa, his master key to Rosa, and Shannon and Goto follow suit. And George is being a little pussy, but Rosa's like, shut up, ho, everyone's innocent now. Because nobody has keys to access other rooms. Or master keys to access all the rooms. And then Maria cuts in with her ee-hee-hee bullshit. And says that Beatrice doesn't even need no stinking keys. And Rose is about to slap her until Battler makes this all about him. And he fucking cries like a little bitch boy. And he's conceding to the existence of Beatrice and all the killings were the witch is doing. So,
Are you positive you actually like these characters? Why do you always have such bad things to say about everyone? Even Butler.
When I was reading it, I was like, come on, dude, you gotta put up more of a fight than just give up and like think that a witch or did it, you know? Like, he brought up maybe one argument for each battle of wits he had with Beatrice, and I was like, okay, come on, you can't just like give up on like the no hidden passage or secret hiding place bullshit. You gotta like...
Yeah, he didn't even get there yet. I just think it's really funny. It's funny to me reading EP2 because I'm like, wow, Battler kind of tries and then he kind of just gives up. He's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the first roadblock he comes across, he's like, okay.
I mean, would you have done better?
No, I wouldn't have done better, but it's just funny to think about it because, like, I think if everybody has seen that meme of Battler and it's just a flow chart and it just says like Battler hits like logic problems, cry, like Beatrice insults him, like cries. I think we're being not that charitable to Battler because we are all like second time readers or
exactly.
like rereaders. Like my friend really felt bad because he was just like, I have no idea what's
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say because like normally when you read stuff like this, like maybe you play Phoenix Wright and you reach a roadblock and you're like, I'm just going to present every single piece of evidence and save scum if I get it wrong. And then the game will explain to me how the murderer got away with it. But in Umineko, you're like, here's like a way to think about it. And then they stop. They don't give you any more hints. They're just like, okay, well, now you know that this is probably definitely wrong. Think about it another way, but we're not going to tell you. Instead, we're going to make your character / battler, like, just give up and start crying and, like...
Yeah, like, just completely humiliate. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's... Humiliate the... Like, you... Because I was telling this, so my friend who was reading this with me, we wrote a lot of notes on like the canon showing back up thing, and he was just like, the writer, well, like the story, Beatrice, and the writer is just like utterly making fun of like the readers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you thought all of this? Like, you're so stupid. How could you be so
Right, I'm
dumb?
going to turn you into a dumb crybaby.
I love when Umineko treats me that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. So it's just like, I think it's clever writing, like looking back at it. But in the moment when I was reading it, I was like, oh, come on, you got to give us more hints. You can't leave us hanging like this.
You need to think about stuff.
You're right, but I was being a stupid baby bitch. So I'm kind of projecting. I wasn't actually thinking when I was reading Umineko the first time around, and I'm just like, it's all Battler's fault for not like finding out the answer right away.
Imagine not
I
thinking,
digress.
oh my.
I know, right? I just kind of like stared at the screen for 300 hours and didn't absorb anything. Love means nothing.
I was gonna say this other thing, which is when Genji decides to like relinquish all his power of being a servant, which means by giving up all the keys to Rosa. Rosa's like, wow, thank you so much. Like, you're so, like, this is very amicable, like admirable of you. Like, if you're a wolf, like, how shameless you speak. But if you're a sheep, I'm super
Right?
sorry for throwing you into a cave of wolves. And then she's like, oh, I also hope that you can remain healthy until the typhoon passes. If that's all possible, then this whole thing will finally
When
be
the
over.
seagulls
and
cry,
then,
she
like,
says
Umineko
the
with
title
all
of
the
the thing. She
Yes,
says it. She's
yes.
like, I hope
I
everything
know.
is hunky-dory after everything, and when the seagulls cry, we can meet and shake hands together again. And then...
Yeah, that was such a good scene. I love
when they
that.
thought to drop.
And then, so at that point, all the servants are being ousted from the room, and George is... Yeah, and George is
With George.
so down bad with Shannon that he decides to tag along with her. Which I was talking to that other friend who also just finished episode 1, and his first impression of George was like... I'll share the meme with you later, but it was basically the Star Wars prologue scroll, but it's like, this is about a dude who is so down bad that I'm just like, you're right. I'm glad you have the right opinion about him. But yeah, so Rosa's like, I hope we can be friends together after this. It'll only just be one night. So all the servants and George leaves. And then she shows her second side and she's like, stupid dumbasses. Like, she just like goes.
She's like, of course, there's like, how could there only be 5 master keys? She's like, who the fuck would believe that? There must be like spare keys. And then she's like, whatever, they're all fucking out there, and I have a gun.
Right, I have all the 5 keys. I have a freaking gun. Good riddance to those goddamn Davenports. And she believes that there is probably extra master keys somewhere that the servants have access to. And there's like this whole devil's proof argument between her and Battler is that you can't really prove that there aren't more than 5. And then we have Meta Battler who's just losing it over that whole debacle, and you hear the red truth about the five master keys being the only ones
Yeah,
that exist
Beatrice
on the
is
island.
like, there's only 5 master keys. There's only 5 master keys. She says it twice in red.
Yeah, she just like
And Balor's
taunts
like
him.
crying.
It's nuts because like even as a reader, you're like, okay, fine, I get it, but now I have to like do so much mental gymnastics to even like wrap my head around what's going on. And Battler is just like not being a good help for the reader because he just basically gave up at this point. So he's like, Beatrice is like, you stupid idiot. Now that you believe in me, let's get kinky and take your clothes off and make you crawl like a dog. You're gonna eat my literal shit and lick my shoes from now on, whore.
Yeah, that's basically
And,
like, yeah.
Her Dan Schneider is showing. She's like, lick my freaking feet. And I'm like,
It's just funny
Beatrice?
because the whole point is that Beatrice is like, well, if you believe in me, if you accept me, I will tell them in red right now that like there's only 5 master keys. And she's like, well, I can't say it to Rosa because she can't hear me. And she's like, take off your clothes,
right.
kneel on the ground, make her tongue crawl on my shoes. Like, it's like so intense.
It really is descriptive. Almost, it's pretty lewd, I'd say. But
It's very
there's also
lewd.
there's also the fact that you can't communicate the red truths to people on the islands, which is like, a staple for like logic puzzle solving or mysteries, I guess. Solving mysteries, because you have to communicate to all the participants in the quote unquote game or like the mystery, like, hey, these are some facts you got to consider. But, you know, they're characters in the game that when you play Back to Phoenix, right, you present a piece of evidence and then they just go with the truth or whatever that they spew, and everybody just accepts that at face value. And for Umineko, you have to accept red truth at face value, but the characters in the story, in the mystery on Rokenjima, they don't know that these absolute truths exist in their world.
They're on our plane of existence, essentially.
Exactly.
And ironically.
Yes. So like in this case, Rosa, or I guess nobody on the island actually knows that there are 5 master keys except for Meta, Beatrice, Battler, and the Reader. And Battler's issue is like, I gotta tell Rosa like there are only 5 master keys, but there's absolutely no way that anyone could know that. And you're just like, that's like a given in any sort of mystery story. Like, they just got to accept evidence, but you know that information, but you can't communicate it to the story, the characters in the story, and it makes you feel really helpless, you know?
I think that's kind of incredible to think about other stories I have read, and they're like, and there's only 3 master keys, or like, oh, and like this is the only way to get into this room. And then it's kind of weird because like as readers, you just take it in, but like, why wouldn't the characters suspect that? Like not suspect it, but why would the characters believe that? Like, who's the authority? Like, unless you give me a blueprint of this house and then, or like the receipt of saying that like, oh, there was only 3 keys made in this house. Like, how would I have known that like you're 100% right?
Exactly. And like here, it's like Beato and Butler are looking at the story through television, and Butler is asking Beato to scream at the television in hopes that
That's
the
so
characters
true.
Exactly.
in the film are gonna hear her saying that
So
there
like,
are
I'm
only
not
5
one of
master
those people
keys.
who likes to like scream at TV characters, but when I was reading this, I was like, oh, God damn it. I just got to, you know, slap Rose in the face and tell her that there are only 5 keys. So Ryukishi did elicit that emotion out of me. So good on him, I guess. We cut back to the servants and George in the kitchen, and they're all explaining to him what went down in the servants' room. And George, being the stupid, gullible bitch boy he is, believes everything. So he asks Shannon why the fuck would she think Spider...
Wait, so you think they were lying?
I mean, it's kind of out there. I'm just saying, like... Okay, so I think at this point, you've seen Canon and the goat battle, and you've met Beatrice, like, you know, do her golden witch hullabaloo, and then you see creepy possessed Canon return from the quote-unquote dead, and he slashes open everybody's throats and then just disappears. And then at this point, George is like, I guess that's exactly what happened, as you guys are telling me that. And when I was reading it, I was like, I was also on the fence like George was, but then he just kind of accepts it. And that tricked me into also believing that I guess that's exactly what happened.
George wants to believe because George was like, I want to be with my girlfriend / fiance. Like, you know, like, honestly speaking, at this point, he's making a new family with her than making families with all of these assholes, which I mean by Rosa herself.
Yeah, right. And so...
I mean, but we've seen what happened.
Yeah, we
like that happened.
Yeah, we saw it, and I'm just like, okay, fine, I guess. And then George succumbs to that line of thinking.
Lorenzo trying to go against the story.
No, I wasn't.
Are you trying to explain Umineko against the official explanation, Lorenzo?
Yeah. Yes. He asks why Shannon thought spiderwebs were a good thing against demons, and she says, well, Georgie Vodka, everyone knows that demons hate spiderwebs, by no doubt. Oh, sorry. And Kumasawa told me everything I needed to know. I tried to make that no doubt joke land, and I guess it fell flat. Never mind. But, you know, you guys know, Throw Me a Bone, the song Spiderwebs by No Doubt?
No, I don't. I'm so sorry.
Shit! Whatever! It's fine. We can add some canned laughter in there. Haha, that was really funny, Lorenzo.
Stop requesting more things from me to edit it.
You can edit that after my joke.
Oh my god.
Shit. But yeah, George goes, okay, wait, sorry. So Shannon explains, of course, spiderwebs are like, you know, a demon repellent. Kumasawa told me everything about demons and the occult. And George goes, yeah, she is kind of an occult nut, a spooky ghost nut. That Shannon was all about fate and chances and miracles. And George thought that when she tells him later that she desecrated that shrine to unlock Beatrice's magical powers, he was like, I think she went a little bit too far, but she's a stupid little girl who believes in magic, so what can you do? He asks all the servants about Beatrice, and they all just kind of corroborate that they have heard something or other about her, and they do believe in her to some extent, So George gets invested in the legend of Beatrice, Wind Waker, and asks a little bit more about the mirror that Shannon broke to unlock Beatrice's power. And George goes, wow, it really is all your fault this is happening, huh? And then Shannon starts to cry, which I thought was really funny. Because that happens. And I'm just like, wow, man, you really done it. And then Goda pipes up and says that Natsuhi has a similar sort of spiritual mirror in her room that she received from her family. Goda brings up that there's a magical mirror in Natsuhi's room, and George has the genius idea of, since we don't have master keys, let's loot her corpse for her key and break into the chapel and then grab that mirror. And everyone's like, oh, that's kind of macabre, I guess you would say. So they all decide to leave, save for Genji, who's like, I owe the master my life. I gotta be able to serve the master at all times. I'm gonna stay behind. And all the servants plus George go to the chapel to loot Natsuhi's corpse. And then at that point, Genji what does he do? He does another knife throw at this golden butterfly that's about to chase the people who leave to go to the chapel, which is basically a death mark at this point. So he maybe might have prevented their deaths. Who knows? But we will stop here for the non-spoiler discussion. If you haven't read beyond that point, please log off now. But thank you so much for listening. We'd like to have you listen to us next time. So see cats, do crimes. See you later. Goodbye. Otherwise, we're gonna spoil Umineko for you in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Mushroom here. Friendly reminder, beyond this point is full spoilers for Umineko, so please leave. Thank you.
Rosatrice
is the answer. Okay.
Rosatrice is not the answer.
Yeah, that's all your fault.
Don't listen to Google.
I feel like every time I get to edit all of these non-spoiler spoiler parts, Lorenzo always start with a very inflammatory a statement.
Well, it's their fault for listening in. So, if you're curious and you're still listening to this, even though you haven't finished episode 2 or Umineko, it's your fault. It's on you. Stupid. But yeah, spoiler discussions.
What do you want to discuss about?
A lot of things, because again, I think not a lot of things, because I guess we're short on time, but the whole fact.
I mean, you can keep going without me.
It's okay. We'll do our best to at least get your thoughts into the recording.
Okay.
So for me at least, I took everything at face value when I first read everything through, and I was just like, what the hell's going on? And now that you know that there are people who are in on it, there were accomplices, Rosa was the big bad in this episode, everything is just on a reread, you're just oh man, how could I not have seen this? But Battler breaking down and giving up, that's kind of what the reader's train of thought should be on a first time read. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Which is exactly why I was trying to deviate from the spoiler you were giving on the non-spoiler part. What were you thinking about? About making driving the conversation into the line of thought that maybe the servants were lying, even though we saw what happened.
It's okay. We could. But Rosa think they were lying.
Okay. Well, yeah. No, that's because I thought they were lying too. Because on my first time, I guess, because they're the only ones with the keys. You had Red Truth that said that they had keys, but then I was sort of attached to them because of episode 1. I was just if it had to be anyone, it had to be at least one of the servants, because they had access to all the rooms. But at the same time, I don't want to blame anyone. Shannon and Cannon are so cute, and Genji's harmless. Kumasawa's sus, I guess, because I thought it was Kumasawa.
Kumasawa is funny, and Goda cooks good food. Well thought, Lorenzo. You are not.
No, but okay, so
This is so mean.
Kumasawa had like those 2 monologues.
But of course, I am a witch.
Yeah, that too. But like Kumasawa had those monologues, and I was just like, why would she, of all the characters, have weird monologues? She also has access to every single room. She also has like the worst timing.
Creepy.
It's got to be her, right? But you know, the more I read, I was like, maybe, I don't know, someone stole a key, or maybe there's a 19th person.
Kumasawa is very suspicious, but at the same time, my image of Kumasawa at the time was that she was just a dumb old lady who like being creepy a little bit too much and just so happened to be creepy at the wrong time.
Yeah, Kumasawa gives me off like very confused, suspicious vibes. Like she just says like crazy shit, but like is actually completely harmless. But I think this is actually a really good setup for EP3 when you learn about Kumasawa's alternative identity. Yeah,
because I was like, oh man, it was her, but then like that's not the case. I was just like even more mindfucked at that point. But anyways,
Kumasawa is the kind of person who would work at NASA. Right. But go to Flat Earth Society conventions just for shits and giggles.
That's her. She's just there to like entertain to humor everybody. Like, oh, maybe it is flat, and ghosts did it. It's the legend of the world, or whatever. But
that's funny.
Yeah, for somebody who's trying to like at least solve it, even though I kind of gave up at the point where Battler also gave up, I'd say the servants are like the number one on my culprits suspicious list. Yeah, like it's got to be people who have access to all the rooms, right? Like
yeah. I was actually looking at the notes.
What's that?
Sorry, I was gonna say I was actually looking at the notes my friend wrote for the part where Canon shows up. He like basically had no notes because it was just like so bewildering and gruesome, and like there's a part where Canon like shoves his fingers into his wound, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, I know, right? That was a pretty gruesome detail that he added in there. But that's also funny because your friend's taking diligent notes about to solve the mystery, and then for the one very magical, like, you know, Umineko magical part, he doesn't write notes about it. So when he goes back to look at the notes, they're just like,
he's gonna be really mad.
Oh, I guess everything I just saw.
Actually, that's very funny because my friend wrote these notes, which you guys are going to find incredibly amazing. He wrote, people were divided. That's the subtitle for that section. And it says, supernatural stuff only happens when Balor isn't around, which either means he's the only, means he's the only credible POV, or that means supernatural things are deliberately avoiding to showing itself to him, or is his non-belief shield his eye somehow. And then he wrote, magic and risk is in conflict with chessboard thinking. And so like he really that was like a very specific thing that he wrote down. He was like, yeah, it's kind of clear that like Balor never sees magical things, but I think like for the longest time he understood that Balor on chessboard and Balor in game board are two different people, because he's like, is the game board Balor also seeing these murders happening, like magical murders? And I was like, they'll eventually get to that part, but I think that's a pretty good thing to pick up, to think that Battler is the only.
He is so close to figuring out that Battler never sees Shannon and Canon in the same room together. Yeah. I'm just like, man, he's gonna figure it out
on episode 2.
No,
what the fuck, Mushroom? I think your friend.
Yeah, has read
no. He is not. He's a huge Ace Attorney fan. He's really great though. Wow. Maybe one day I can coach him onto coming onto this podcast. And he could, if he finished, maybe when we get to EP4 or maybe EP3, like as an ending episode, we can invite him on just for theory crafting.
Oh that I'm down for that. That sounds really fun.
He's a lovely person. I bet he would love it. But yeah,
well, good for your friends for being so big brains, even though I was being yeah.
But yeah, do we want to talk about how is the murder in the kitchen possible?
The servant room murder?
Yes.
You mean
servant's room murder? Yes.
Servant's room murder. So, from what I understand, the non-killers. So everybody was in on it. Maybe all the servants, but I guess at that point in the plan, Shannon's like, sick 'em boys. And at least Genji, because Genji's like, a emotionless machine. And maybe Goda killed both Nanjo and Kumasawa and, took care of everything. They lied about...
But why did they keep Goda alive, though?
They probably threatened him.
Because they needed Goda to poison the food so that they could prepare the murders of Nanjo and Kumasawa. Otherwise, how would they kill them?
Oh,
With
that
guns
makes so much
when everyone
sense.
was in the
So
mansion?
Goda made poisonous food, and then Kumasawa and Nanjo were the two people who ate it.
Oh, shit. I didn't catch on to that.
That makes
I like
so much
that.
more sense.
Okay.
That's so true. Because you couldn't use guns.
And then they just bled... Yeah, and then they bled them all over the place in the servant's room and then just got rid of their bodies.
Well, yeah, I
Transported
mean, the
them to
blood
the-
doesn't even necessarily have to
thing.
be real. But I guess,
It would be more fun if it was... It'd be more festive, I guess.
But but think about... but nobody was, dirty when they showed up. So,
You're right.
they could...
Well, yeah, they have changes.
True,
right?
they could
Like
just...
they work
Yeah,
there.
that's very true.
They
They
have
could
more
just
clothes,
change
I would
clothes.
bet.
I'd like to imagine that they were kind of bloodied because, there was a scuffle in the room, right? It would be more believable if everybody had
true.
blood on them, but they just said, oh, we got blood on ourselves from a fight.
Ah.
Yeah. So,
That
That's
is
incredible. So, yeah, So basically, Goda poisoned two of them. They gutted them. Did they gutted them? No.
I mean, they could have. It would have been a nice... It would be
Well,
fun
actually,
and festive.
I think the blood is fake because didn't they find their bodies later, and they were just
Oh, were they?
they.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they poisoned them,
Okay.
transported them to the servants' room, then opened their throats so that the blood would gush out, and then put them on top of trash bags or something, transported them to the thing in the middle of the mansion, hanged them, placed
Yeah.
the stakes, and then went back to the
Clever.
parlor.
And then it doesn't matter because they probably placed the keys inside of they probably just placed the keys inside of the folder, in a letter, and anybody.
Yeah, I think Rosa had it the whole time, too.
I think Rosa had that all
Rosa's
along.
in on it. Because she's the one who pulls it out. And Beatrice is Rosa's
Because
about
Rosa is the
to,
one who finds it.
do, lay down all this shit, and you're going to watch it. So,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's EP. Okay, so EP2 is kind of crazy because what's Rosa's thought process now? Is she
Well, so from what I understand, she's been in on it since the first Twilight, right? So she's more or less
Yeah,
helping-
she's been in on it since the
she's
first Twilight.
orchestrating the whole thing.
Now,
After the first
I
Twilight,
would say
yeah.
after the first Twilight. I would say she's
you
in
don't
on
think
it
she was the one
since
who
the morning. Since she went to the church on the morning. Because we know that she
Yes.
left early from the chapel.
Yes? I don't think she went to the...
Or maybe she is in on it since the first Twilight, yeah. Because if we go by the theory that the envelope she received from Beata on the Rose Garden were already instructions,
Yeah, exactly.
then I guess we could say she
'cause
is
she
in on
ran
it
into
since before
Beatrice in
the
the
first Twilight
beginning,
even.
and she also thought that her dead siblings was a beautiful sight. And I think when Will reveals the truths at the end of episode 7, the chapel murders was explained by don't believe anything you saw. Everybody set that up. All the first witnesses were the people who set up that scene, So that immediately just
makes
means that
sense.
Rosa's in on it, has been in on it. So regarding her thought process, I think she's just playing she's like that woman doing math meme, but she's understanding everything. You know what I'm saying? No?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. She's like... Sorry,
No,
go ahead,
I was
Mushroom.
gonna say something super random, which is that I would like to think that Yasu ordered a bunch of bought a bunch of candy, the Western candy and the Eastern candy things, for the whole murder, for the whole murder of the first Twilight, and they just had huge bags of it, and that's probably what Kumasawa found. So when Kumasawa's trying to offer people candy, it's just leftovers of things that Yasu probably didn't put in the chapel murder.
Yeah,
Is-
that is
That's
funny.
my random thought. But yes, continue.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
All right,
tuning in
then.
with us and listening to our thoughts and feelings. Yeah, I mean,
This is a short
How
episode.
long have we've been recording for so far? It's been an hour. You know,
Only
that's
an
fine.
hour.
That's actually
and seven.
a good. It's like the sweet spot. I eats. But yes, thank you
Yeah.
again for tuning in for the Umineko
Yeah.
Bookclub. We will see you next time. In the meantime, see cats, do crimes. Catch you later. Stop thinking like I did.
Don't stop
Toodles.
thinking.
Yeah. Bye.